Hi, Nikki. I'm Scott.
Hi, I'm Nikki.
I tried to introduce you guys earlier. What's up, fans of the NFC South? It is your boy, the freaking Puerto Rican, aka Joe Rulano here for tonight's episode of Southbound and Down. We bring it to you live every Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Tonight we have a new member of our esteemed panel. She is repping the Bucks this evening. Miss Princess Nikki, go ahead and introduce yourself if you would, please.
Hi guys, I'm Princess Nikki. I'm a big Bucks fan. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I've been a Bucks fan for a while. I've definitely put in my time with this team.
Very good, very good. Very nice to have you. We look forward to hearing your insight into this organization. And Greg, you're an old staple here. Go ahead and say hello.
Uh, Greg Barber, representing the Saints. You can actually contact me at IntenseGB on Twitter.
And last but certainly not least, Scott Karasik. Go ahead and let him know who you are and what you do, buddy.
I'm Scott Karasik. I'm a car salesman by day, Falcon specialist by night. And, yeah, you can always find me at Scott Karasik. I love talking football. I don't care what team you follow. I guarantee you I know a good bit about them. And I know the most about the Falcons. But I'll be glad to talk football with anybody at any time.
And he does, folks. Let me tell you, he really does. He talks anything about football. Doesn't matter the team. Well, it was an interesting week in the NFC South last week. This is quickly becoming a division that nobody wants to win. Well, I mean, everybody wants to win, but nobody's going out and grabbing it. So it's going to come down to the last few weeks, and I'm really excited about that. I'm trying to think if there are any major injuries, guys. Anybody banged up, nicked up? I know Cam is dinged. I saw an interview today where he was talking about he's hurt. He didn't give I don't think he didn't give specifics, but he just said that if you were to ask him if he was hurt, he'd say yeah.
Yeah, they're not gonna. They're gonna make sure he's not gonna tell you what's hurting.
Right.
Or Star.
Huh?
Star?
Yeah, and Star.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
It's a bad ankle sprain. I saw it, and it looked nasty, but it looked like your typical basketball sprain. I've done it a 1,000 times, and sure, it hurts like the dickens, but you give it a week, and he'll be able to play. He's not playing this week, though. He is out for Atlanta.
Still like a 3 or 4 week injury.
Yeah, he's out longer than that. Yeah, he's out longer than that, I think.
I think he'll be back. Well,
2 weeks, and luckily one of those weeks is a bye week.
Right.
That'll help.
The second week he can be limited. You know, like this week he's out. But like after this week it's a bye. Then he's limited in practice, and then he'll play the next week. He'll be okay. He'll be limited again, and then he'll be good.
Well, the good thing, it's not one of the dreaded high ankle sprain. You know what I mean? It wasn't that. So that's good.
Yeah.
But really, I think those were the two big things to come out of that Eagles debacle that took place on Monday night. What an embarrassing game that was. I was just sickened. On the podcast last night, we really talked about where's Dave Gettleman, the general manager of the Panthers. You know, at least when Marty Herney was the general manager, he would come on and talk to the fans on Charlotte area radio, and there were times where he would take calls from fans, and they would just call him names and tell him how terrible he was, and just flat out call him out, but he took it, and Dave Gettleman is nowhere to be found.
Well, hence Marty Herney is out of a job and Dave Gettleman is in his job.
Right. But my point is,
he's doing the same thing. He's not going to take it.
Right. I don't think he could handle it. He owes the fans not necessarily an explanation, but at least, hey, let us know what's going on. What's your thought patterns? What direction are we going in? That kind of stuff. And we're not getting anything from him. And I think the fan base is frustrated with him because of it. But that's something we touched on last night, pretty in depth, because the Eagles we made the Eagles look like Super Bowl champs. Connor Barwin looked like the second coming of Lawrence Taylor. Mark Sanchez looked like second coming of Joe Montana, and Jordan Matthews looked like Jerry Rice, his cousin. There, they just killed us.
And your offensive line looked like warm butter.
No, I call them the Alpine Lace offensive line. Alpine Lace is a brand of Swiss cheese.
They might be worse than the Buccaneers offensive line. They might be the only line in the entire NFL worse than that current Buccaneers offensive line.
Yes.
And the sad thing is I said that yesterday, and I said the Panthers offensive line looks like warm butter, but if my defensive line was going against it, it would be like a brick wall.
Because your defensive line has Gerald McCoy. So
but everything he does.
Like 8 sacks.
Yeah, McCoy's a player, and so is. I still say
McCoy is the best 3 technique in football, but all he's been doing lately is getting encroachment penalties and offsides.
I think he's third.
He's trying to jump. He's trying to jump
third right now, but it's behind Sue and Atkins. So I'm not putting crappy guys against him.
Well, I think he does. He have any help along the line too?
No. That's the thing.
That's it.
That's the thing is Michael Johnson is a complete no-show. I think he's on the side of a milk carton because if everybody's double teaming Gerald McCoy, Michael Johnson should be having a field day, and it's not happening. Bradley McDougald is having Clinton McDonald. Clinton McDonald is having a field day, and it shouldn't be Michael Johnson.
Michael Johnson should probably be on injured reserve. In all honesty.
Yeah. That's right. He just came back from injury, didn't he?
Yeah,
he's been injured probably 9 out of the 10 games.
He's had a reoccurring ankle injury, and now he has a hand injury.
Yeah, I think Scott's right. He should be out, Dan. I mean, he's definitely ineffective. Because if he can't move, or spin, or anything like that, or put his foot in the ground, and make a move or something, then he's basically nothing.
Yes, I think you're right. I think that's that.
I mean,
if somebody
right now is Levante David, Gerald McCoy, and Clinton McDonald, and that's it.
And that Foster guy too, right?
Even Clinton McDonald is too inconsistent to say that he's a staple on this defense anymore.
He's still worth having on the roster, is what I'm saying.
Oh, definitely. He stepped up. He's definitely stepped up a lot.
If you had a pair of good defensive ends, Clinton McDonald would look like Booger McFarland. Just because of how good Gerald McCoy is. McDonald's great in one-on-ones.
You're right.
He's just awful trying to take on double teams.
Right.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's back to talent thing. It's just not enough. It's just not enough.
Well, this isn't a Panthers show for sure, but I want to touch on something you said about the offensive line. We're the only team in the league. We mentioned this last night as well, that has no drafted offensive tackles on the team. Everyone's a free agent. Even one of them is a converted defensive lineman. So that says something about, our either our strategy or cap situation. I mean, something. And what really bothers me is we have talent evaluators on our team, and somebody went to management and said, yes, these 2 guys are good enough to play offensive tackle in the NFL. So
I have that same complaint about my entire team.
That concerns me deeply that one of our talent evaluators would say that, because these guys, I mean, my God, they're terrible. They just are flat out terrible. I saw more Panthers offensive linemen on their backs than Jenna Jameson. I think somebody used that line.
That's a lot on your back, boy.
I mean, let's be honest here. It's not going to get any better anytime soon for the Panthers.
No. I think if we don't win the division, if we keep playing like we're playing, we'll get a top 10 pick, hopefully a top 6 pick, and maybe be able to draft a good offensive tackle coming out. And that's the best case scenario.
I honestly think if you guys spent your first 4 picks on offensive linemen,
yes.
If you spent your first 4 picks on a left tackle, a right tackle, a left guard, and a right guard, no one would blame David Gettleman for doing it.
No, and not one fan would complain about it. No.
And Ryan Khalil would probably be like, "Oh, hey, look, help."
Dallas did kind of the same thing, basically, like just over the last few years in their draft, and it worked out very well for them. And then, they did over several years.
There has been a huge debate among Panther fans here recently about whether or not Cam is the problem or Cam is the solution. And I heard Trent Dilfer say something pretty enlightening the other day. He said, quarterback is a high-profile position, and it's a position of, that everybody recognizes, but it's also the most needy position. It's very dependent on having decent receivers. He's got to have a decent offensive line. Most of the time, a decent running game. All that is quarterback has to have that. Well, we don't have that.
Yeah,
and how can you put all the blame on Cam? It's not fair to do that.
I was going to say this real quick.
Yeah.
A great quarterback takes average offensive linemen and average receivers and turns it into a great offense, like New England is right now.
Aaron Rodgers did that.
Any quarterback would look bad right now with that Carolina garbage offensive line. And Carolina's they've got a number 2 wide receiver, and they've got a number 1 tight end, and that's it.
That is it.
No one else should be catching the ball on that team right now.
Right, no one else can because they can't get any separation to get open.
But look what you guys got when you really take an inventory of your team. Like I said, Cam is the least of your worries at this point in time. If you had a solid offensive line, a decent running game, and you have some receivers that were competent, then I can see where you're blaming Cam a little bit. You know what I mean? Because then you can't say that he doesn't have that he got stuff to work with and he's not making it better.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys, right now no, I don't think you can't blame Cam right now on this.
Right, we can't put this on him.
We're at a legitimate point where you could say Atlanta has the second best offensive line in the division by far over Carolina and Tampa Bay.
And that's not saying very much.
No, it's not. You're absolutely right. It's not saying much at all. All right, well, that's enough about the Panthers because as I'm getting depressed as we're sitting here, I'm going to break out the rusty razor blade here in a minute if we keep talking about it. Let's talk about the Saints and what took place in the Superdome on Sunday because that was a heck of a ball game. I really thoroughly enjoyed watching that.
Remember last week, what did I say? It was going to be close. I said it was going to be a very close game. I also said that I knew damn well that Jim Harbaugh was going to have that team ready to play. And I said I was in no way, shape, form going to underestimate them because I knew damn well that I felt like the Saints would have the edge in that game. But at the same time, I knew that game right there was not going to be it wasn't going to be a blowout. San Francisco was not going to play anywhere near what they've been playing the last 2 weeks.
Right.
Their backs were the wall, and they needed that game more than New Orleans did.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? So I knew that they were coming to play, and they did. They played pretty well for the most part. But the Saints also had that game, could have won that game, and should have won that game.
Should have won the game. I think they should have.
You can blame the Jimmy Graham call.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm not even talking about that. I think they could have won despite that.
Huh?
I think they could have won despite that.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. If you let that play out, when they gave up the 51-yard play down the field.
Right, that was killer.
Because that one hurt me worse than any play that happened. More than the Drew Brees fumble or anything. They had him 4th and 10. You had Kaepernick scrambling.
Mm-hmm.
All Vaccaro had to do is he was supposed to be bracketing the receiver. He doesn't bracket him. So Corey Wright was doing what he was supposed to do.
He lost him.
Well, no, actually, what happened was Vaccaro saw Vernon Davis coming up. He was about 10 yards wide open. Instead, he left his assignment where he was supposed to be bracketing him and went to go get the Vernon Davis because nobody was there. So where a linebacker probably should have been over there to to cover Davis, so Vaccaro could have done his job. The likelihood that Vaccaro was there, he wouldn't have thrown that ball.
Right, he would. Right. You're right.
He would have thrown that ball.
Safety is always supposed to cover the deepest man on the field.
Exactly. Right. And so I mean, Corey White was basically doing what he's supposed to do. But the problem is, too, whenever a quarterback scrambles, I don't understand why wide receivers, the first thing they should do is almost go man-to-man. In other words, you just keep an eye on a guy. Whatever you were supposed to do in that zone, screw it. Just just go man-to-man and stay with them so that nobody is wide open in the craziness. And it happens all the time. And
I want to ask you, Greg, do you think the loss that the 49ers took, I think it was last year with the helmet incident when they smacked
Yeah.
Do you think that served as extra motivation for that?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. That's why, like I said, that was part of the reason why I knew that game was going to be close. That stuck in their minds because they thought they should have won that game. And, I mean, like I said, I told you last week with that call, I understood why they made the call, but I could have understood just as well why they wouldn't have made that call. Because I'm still a little old school where, like, he barely touched the helmet.
Right.
I'm like, that's the normal hit in my world, from what I used to.
There's nothing extra.
That's a hell of a lot worse than that and never got called.
Right.
And so, I got that. But, Ahmad Brooks was waiting on that one. And he came out and he made the game-winning play doing, with that basically coming behind him. So, I want to ask. 5 games, they lost by one play out of this year. What do you do? I mean, other than that, they can't close out games. I'm not going to pull out the rusty razor blade. All I hope is that they can just kind of correct one or two things, and this is a different story. And that's about, that's really about it. I mean, so I'm hopefully optimistic. It's not the end of the damn world.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. Nikki, I know you're out there on the West Coast, and I don't know if you got to see that game. Did you get to see that game? Or
I see all the games at an earlier time than all of you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You get to see the game.
Like 10 o'clock for you, like 8 o'clock for me.
Wow, how nice is that breakfast with football? That would be awesome.
Oh, it's fantastic. I wake up at 10, sleep in, get up, get my fantasy team going, and then 11 o'clock games are on.
Nice.
I don't have to wait all day. I don't have to stay up late. It's fantastic.
And Scott, this question goes to you too. I'll take you each. I'll take you guys one at a time, but we sort of touched on it with the Jimmy Graham incident. What are your thoughts on that? Was that the right call made by the refs? I want you each to answer that, please. Go ahead, Nikki, you first.
I honestly didn't see that call, so I was doing homework at that time, so I really shouldn't talk about it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Scott?
By the book, yes. It was the right call. It was offensive pass interference as written. I mean, no matter how you cut it, that's exactly what it was. As written. Now, in that kind of situation, I don't think it should be called. I don't ever think that should be called. Because I'm a big fan of let the players play in the last 2 minutes of the game.
Agreed.
And I honestly agree with you. I agree with you. I think at that moment, you don't want the referees deciding a game.
Okay.
And they did.
But I will say this. Tampa Bay had an opportunity to win late even after that. They had an opportunity to win in overtime, and they couldn't move the ball in range for even a field goal.
Tampa Bay?
Tampa Bay has no excuse for losing that game because they still got the ball back in overtime. They got it back first.
In New Orleans.
He meant the Niners. Yeah, he meant the Niners.
Oh, I was like, what?
I worked 12 hours today.
I don't disagree with you there, Scott. You're right. But because they did get the ball first. And, I mean, they probably should have went with it on 4th down instead of giving San Francisco the ball back. I would have been okay with him taking that risk at that point in time. You know what I mean? Because you don't really want to give him the ball back and give him the shot at the field goal, which the whole thing was a mess. But I mean, like the whole Jimmy Graham call, we've all seen worse in those Hail Mary plays with the pushes and the pull and all that stuff, and the refs don't call a damn thing. They let it happen, and however it turns out.
Right.
So I don't understand why all of a sudden the referee decides to grow balls and make the call then.
Right, the timing was bad. I think it was the right call. You just don't do that at the that late in the game.
Yeah, you just don't
like
do
Scott
that
said,
point.
by the book it was. But let's be honest too. He was acting like crazy.
Oh,
I mean, he was
yeah.
acting.
Yeah, that was a flop.
Not that much of a flop.
That was
I don't know how much of a flop that really was.
No, dude, that was a flop.
On 1 foot. He's
No, because it was like
and about 180 pounds. And he got pushed by Jimmy Graham, who's about 6'7" and 270 pounds.
right.
But
Well,
also,
honestly, the physics of it makes sense. I say this as a former engineering major. The physics of it makes sense.
well, I know.
It makes sense.
A lot of from the tweets that I'm getting, a lot of people are feeling like it was the right call to make. That they should have made the call because it was the right call to make, and you don't pick and choose when you enforce penalties. But
okay, early in that game, Anquan Bolden actually pushed off on Keenan Lewis on a touchdown catch as well, and I ain't hear no goddamn calls on that one.
okay, and Greg, that brings me to another point. In this game, I don't know about you guys, but to me, there seemed to be an inordinate amount of drops by receivers on both teams. I agree. Colston dropped a sure touchdown, I think. Anyway.
I was furious on that one because he was wide open. He was wide the hell open.
Yeah, there was nobody around him, and it just went right through his hands.
Wide open. He had that catch, and it was like right on. Yeah, that one right there. He can't live down on that one.
And then I saw Bolden drop at least 3.
Yeah, he was too. He was definitely going Butterfingers. In a lot of cases.
Yeah, he always catches that.
Yeah, usually he catches everything. That dude never drops anything.
All right, so that game, the Saints lost. The Panthers had a chance to take first place in division on Monday, and they blew it. We've already touched on that, so I don't want to wallow in my sorrow anymore. I think we're going to go to Nikki's game. And Nikki, forgive me, I didn't get to see any of the Bucks game, but I do know it went into overtime. Did it not?
No.
No, it didn't?
It wasn't. It didn't go into overtime, but it was
close. It was close.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you spared your eyes from that debacle of 2 terrible football teams trying to play.
I know Mike Evans had a good game, didn't he?
Yeah, I did.
Actually, if you want to look at stats and stuff, like Tampa Bay had a great game statistically, but and I don't like to be the person that calls out referees for bad calls and impacting the game, but the reffing staff on both sides of the ball was absolutely terrible. They called very costly penalties against the Buccaneers when we were holding them to field goals. Or like they called a hands to the face on Jonathan Banks, and the replay clearly shows. And I've watched the All-22 on it and the broadcast version on it a couple times on that specific play, and you don't see Jonathan Banks' hand anywhere near his face, and they called it, and that gave them the Falcons the next. I think like 2 plays later they scored a touchdown. So just direct. I don't like to be that person that calls out the refs, but it's true that coaching staff was absolutely. The referees were absolutely terrible. If you look at the overall statistics, Tampa Bay had 23 first downs. I don't know how, because we never do, but we had 23 first downs to Atlanta's 19. Our total yards was 50 yards more than theirs, and statistically, we had a good game, and we just couldn't pull it out because this team has no clue how to win. There's no sort of our impact players, which would be Gerald McCoy, Levante David. They make, the sack in the second quarter and are absolutely not there when it comes to the fourth quarter to put the game away. They just disappear, and we just give up drives and shoot ourselves in the foot consistently with penalties. And it's this team just does not know how to win, and it's really frustrating. Actually, the quarterback play was better. Josh McCown does bring the element of athleticism that Mike Glennon does not have, but they're the same guy when you come to quarterbacks that they're just going to be career backups, both of them. So it was a bad game on both sides. The referees were terrible. Mike Evans did have a good game. He was the only bright spot. They couldn't get the running game going. Charles Sims, who they've been promising us, was going to be a spark in this offense. I know it was his first game back from injury because he missed the first couple games, or the first, 9 games, 10 games?
Yeah, he missed a lot.
Yeah, he's back, and he just didn't. Like I said, it's his first game, and he didn't really show us anything. Bobby Rainey seemed completely like he got on the bus and went home after the first half, and it was terrible. I can't really give many bright spots out of that game.
Is that a more a testament to the offensive line woes than anything, or is that more on the running backs?
I think it depends on the situation because not this Falcons game, but the week before when we played the Browns, the offensive line actually looked pretty better than it has. I shouldn't say pretty decent, but better than it has. And I don't know. Everybody seems to think that Doug Martin should be the bell cow, and I've been over Doug Martin for a while now, so I'm ready to roll with Bobby Rainey. I think he's shiftier. I think he sees the holes better in the first level. Once Doug Martin gets past once Doug Martin is in the second level, he's really explosive, but he hits the holes and he doesn't fall forward and he just falls right down. At least Bobby Rainey, he's smaller than Doug Martin. If he hits a small, sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. If he hits a hole that's too small, at least when he's falling forward and he's pushing the entire line forward. So it's something that I see a fight in Bobby Rainey more so than Doug Martin. And like I said, the offensive line is terrible, but it goes both ways, to be honest. It's just situational at that moment.
No, Martin's still hurt, isn't he? Oh,
he's hurt.
A little hurt.
He's hurt right now.
Hurt.
Yeah. He's inactive as of now, but I'm even talking just over the course of the season.
Okay.
Yeah, that can be part of it there.
There's one thing we've talked about before as a group on this podcast with the quarterback situation, and I'm really bewildered as to why Glennon didn't get the start and they went back to McCown. I'm confused. Are they trying to win now, or are they building to the future? It seems there's, every time they change quarterback, it seems like they're changing their mode of thinking.
Well, this is the thing when it comes to the quarterbacks. Lovie Smith brought in Josh McCown, and the reason Josh McCown signed here is because he promised him the starting job. So going into camp, there was a very unfair, if you want to call it even a quarterback competition, because it wasn't a competition. We knew going into the season that Josh McCown had the job. The thing is Josh McCown, we all said he played himself out of the job after the first two games, and he still played the third game, which was against the Falcons, and he was absolutely horrendous in that game. But he actually got hurt in that game, so that's when Mike Glennon started, and Mike Glennon came in and started playing really well for two or three games, and then the last 2 weeks just played horrible. It was Josh McCown all over again. So at that point, Glennon played himself out of the job that he could have ran away with. So now that Josh McCown is full and healthy, you go back. Lovie Smith is going to stick to his loyalty. And if he promised Josh McCown the starting job, he's going to go back to that person, obviously, especially if Glennon's not playing well.
Yeah. I mean, basically, they have nowhere to go to. They have nowhere else to go to. It's one of the two.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's career backup versus future career backup. That's what we have here.
That's what you're thinking. You're thinking that
another season, you just all you guys did was sign another backup, and that was simple as that when you signed McGowan.
So you think at this point, Glennon's not the answer? You don't think Glennon is?
Well, I knew that going into from last year. He played 13 games last year, and I didn't see anything that tells me he did improve in his first two starts this year compared to last year. But he definitely played himself out of the position. So when Josh McCown was healthy, I mean, I would have gone back to Josh McCown at this point as well, especially for the fact that he brings the athleticism that Glennon doesn't have. Glennon doesn't run for first downs.
Right. He's not.
I think I would have to say one thing about Glennon's case. I was going to say I think there's still an energy there. The team seems to respond a little bit better to Glennon to me compared to what I see. Look at it.
No, I think partially you're right, because when Glennon was in, him and Mike Evans had already started to build a rapport between the two of them. But Vincent Jackson was completely. There was no effort from Vincent Jackson, and if you watch this last game at least Vincent Jackson was putting a lot more effort because Josh McCown was. I'm not going to say it's because Josh McCown was in, but, I mean, if you look at it, Vincent Jackson played like the number one wide receiver that he should be. He wasn't dropping all the balls all the time when McCown was in.
But weren't they just trying to trade Vincent
pick
Jackson?
on Robert Alford all game.
No, they weren't trying to trade Vincent Jackson. People were calling about him, and they were going to field calls if they would get the value for him that they wanted, but they weren't actually shopping Vincent Jackson.
So basically, were looking for somebody to overbuy on him.
Right.
Is what it came down to.
Right.
That's all that was.
Okay.
They wanted somebody to give him more than what he was actually worth. Is what it came down to.
So I'm going to throw this out at you, Nikki. I'm going to throw this question. You don't think your quarterback answer to the future is on this team? So you guys continue at your current pace, and you get pick 2, you get pick 3, somewhere in that area. Who are you looking to draft as your?
We definitely need to take a quarterback.
Do you have a preference?
This is hard because I'm kind of an FSU hater, and I hate to be that person that's like, dude, Jameis Winston. Like, I don't want him on my team, but at the same time, how can I not want one of the best quarterbacks on my NFL team? Because I'm at Bucks over everybody. So I'm actually an Auburn fan. So the day Cam Newton became a Panther, he kind of was dead to me. But like I embraced Mark Barron as an Alabama alum, so I can do the same with Jameis Winston, especially if he's going to play.
And when you're Super Bowl.
Right, exactly. It's hard to say I wouldn't want a quarterback that looks NFL ready and has the win.
Quarterback for Lovie Smith.
Right, I don't think so either.
I think Lovie Smith is a guy who is gonna be that team leader off the field, on the field.
That's my biggest concern with Jameis Winston is more the off the field issues, and I don't really want all the team drama.
That's the biggest concern. I mean, because that dude can play quarterback.
Marcus Mariota is what I'm saying.
Mariota, definitely, and he can definitely be coached up for any shortcoming that he has. I think those two, I mean, the drop-off between Mariota, Winston, to anybody else coming out of the draft is just huge, and we need to grab one of them. We just need a quarterback. We need something to spark this team and give the fans something to be excited about, because as of right now, this fan base has just lost all hope. Like, we're stuck with, the quick fixes and the free agent signings, and we're not winning games, and this fan base needs something. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not necessarily saying I like Winston or Mariota, but we need to take a quarterback in this draft, first round.
I agree, and when you guys have the number 2 pick and Oakland takes someone other than a quarterback because they like Derek Carr, I think you have a quarterback sitting right in your lap.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Agreed.
The only thing I would be worried about is the Jets maybe taking a pick before us.
Yes. Yeah, and then you'll be left with what's that?
The Jets
are not something you really have to worry about right now because the Jets are picking after you.
Yeah, it doesn't for sure.
As of now.
That's true.
Unless they wins another game this year, you probably don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, unless
Jacksonville stay in front of you, you're fine.
Can I address that point you said, Scott, about Jameis Winston not being the quarterback for Lovie Smith?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, definitely.
This is the biggest thing that hurt our team this year was Jeff Tedford. When we lost Jeff Tedford as our offensive coordinator, the entire offseason was a wash because anything that we had practiced, I know from a couple people who got to go to training camp day in and day out, said that the offense they ran in training camp is completely different than what we're showing on the field now. Yeah. So when we get another quarterback, we're going to have to get an offensive coordinator. I don't think Jeff Tedford is coming back even next year. If he has heart issues, I just don't see him coming back. So we're
I'll agree there because Arroyo is...
No. I don't even want to talk about Arroyo because Arroyo is...
Yeah, he's
not ready to be an offensive coordinator. He's a quarterback.
No. And I give him give him credit for what he's done because he was thrown into the position and he was not hired from it. He's never been a play caller, and he's terrible. I've seen improvements. There's still some questionable play calling in my opinion, but we need
he gets demoted next year back to quarterbacks coach. He goes, "Thank God I was not ready."
Dude, I don't even think they'll have him back as quarterbacks coach next year. I think we get a new offensive coordinator and new quarterbacks coach. And at that point, maybe Jameis Winston. No. I don't think so. I'm not saying it's his fault because, like I said, he got thrown into a position that he was not hired for. I still don't think he is on this team next year.
Yeah, but I agree because I think what they're going to do is they're going to make a whole change there. They're going to just make a whole change on that offensive side. And you might see it on the defensive side, too. Because I think Rob Marinelli...
Rob Marinelli wanted to come this year, and Cowboys wouldn't let him out. So, definitely, Rod Marinelli, the door is open for you whenever.
I could see that. I could see that somehow happening.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because he wanted to come last year, and like I said, it was the Cowboys who wouldn't let him interview.
And Jerry Jones was smart enough to move him up, and take Monty Kiffin out of there.
Yeah, but who's to say Rod Marinelli doesn't get a head coaching job?
I don't see that happening.
I could see it in Oakland.
He went 0-16 with his last team. I don't think he's getting another head coaching job.
Again, we're talking Oakland.
I said he went 0-16.
Gonna be 0-16.
Job. No, Oakland, dude, no, he's not gonna get another head coaching job. Look, whoever's dumb enough to hire Rob Marinelli as a head coach should just give up. Right.
That's like hiring Nick Saban as an NFL coach.
Be fired.
Right, you're
as a defense coordinator.
As a general manager, you're asking to be fired.
Oh, you're gonna be fired. You're gonna be fired the minute you hire him. You are going to be fired. The man went 0-16. I'm sorry. The Duke is coach. He's a great defense coordinator. He ain't head coaching a damn thing.
Let's put it this way: if the Falcons clean house, I could see Dirk Cutter as a great fit.
But head coach?
Coordinator.
Oh. Okay, right. He would be. I agree there.
Scott, you were gone.
Yeah, in Tampa, yes, he would.
I think a good one would be Marty Morningweg with Marcus Mariota.
Mm-hmm.
That combination would be fun to watch too.
That could be something, yeah.
I mean
it's definitely.
You were gone, Scott. You were gone when we started talking about the Bucs game. I want to get your thoughts on Atlanta's performance in that game.
If Atlanta can win every game like that for the rest of the season, Mike Smith is going to stay.
You mean if Atlanta can play Tampa Bay all
for
the rest of the
year?
So basically, Carolina's going to need to act like Tampa Bay this week.
Right.
With how their offensive line has been playing. It doesn't seem too far of a stretch.
I was going to say that might not be outside of the realm of possibility.
A lucky win at home against Cleveland would be nice. A lucky win at home against Arizona would be nice. They're going to get destroyed in Green Bay, so I'm just kind of writing that one off. They could probably beat Pittsburgh head-to-head as long as they stick with a running game and attack the cornerbacks pretty heavily. And then they get Carolina again, and they got to go to New Orleans. And going to New Orleans, it's a dogfight. That's a 3-point game either way every time they play.
Always.
Carolina at home, I don't know. If Atlanta's 8-7 and they need to win the division, with how Carolina's offensive line has been, I don't know how much it changes in 6 weeks. Put it that way.
Yeah. It's crazy, but if the Falcons beat the Panthers and the Saints lose this week, the Falcons are in first place in the NFC South. I can't even believe that. That's just unbelievable. And I'm praying that doesn't happen because I know I'll never hear the end of it from Scott Karasik.
You really would though, because I'm not that kind of person. I'd still go fire Mike Smith.
Really? You're just done. You're just done with him.
I think his time is just over. Unless the Falcons win every game from here on out, and then somehow make it to the Super Bowl, That's the only way Mike Smith really keeps his job.
Wow.
Yeah.
5-game losing streak and that loss to Detroit pretty much sealed his fate.
Yeah.
Detroit and not collapse in the second half and like just beat Detroit 21-0. Arthur Blank would have been perfectly happy.
Yeah. Arthur Blank is not a happy man right now. He's not satisfied with that team. He really is not.
And the thing is, Arthur Blank doesn't think the issue is talent. He thinks the issue is coaching. Because when they coached a common sense coaching game against Tampa Bay, they destroyed Tampa Bay.
Nikki, let me tell you, for like the last 4 weeks straight, Scott has given us the key to the Falcons winning with his lineup. He needed to submit it to the Falcons organization so they could put the players in the places where he said to play.
They did it this week. They did it this week. They played the right guys in the right fucking spots this week. Oh, look, a win.
And
against the worst team in the freaking NFL.
But what they did is what they can do against any team and still look competitive. Honestly, they should have had at least 2 more touchdowns against Tampa Bay. Let's be honest here.
No, not really, because you should have pulled back some of those. That hands to the face call against Jonathan Banks is complete crap. And they tried to say that Mike Evans, oh my God, what the heck was the name of that referee? But he irritated me. But there was so many bad calls. That interception at the goal line was crap.
That was an interception.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. The ball was on top of his forearm the entire time.
Yeah, well, where was that? Where was Jonathan Banks? It was like in his freaking pocket.
Ferreira says it's an interception. It's an interception. Okay. He's a former head of officiating for the NFL. I trust his judgment over yours.
Okay, I agree with you. I'm not saying I'm an NFL referee, but if you looked at the rest of those calls in the game, they were complete crap. Not all of them. I'm not saying all of them, but Jonathan Banks had his hand in his freaking pocket, and he called a hands to the face.
Could some of them have been ticky-tack? Yes.
Ticky-tack?
I'll give it there. But, again, some of them are by the rule. It was a right call. By the rule. Does the rule suck? Sure. But
yeah, I won't argue that. The way they've been interpreting some of these plays
just suck.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here.
Because
I don't know. When I was growing up playing football, it was, hey, you put your hand in front of the guy's face. If you accidentally hit his face mask because you're trying to block the ball away, you're trying to shield his face from the ball, so you can't really get a good view of the catch.
Which you can't do that.
You just have to have it. You can't have it like that over his face. You got to have it open hand so it looks like you're going for the ball, but you can still put your hand in front of his face.
Well, you have to turn your hand around.
And you gotta have.
It was stupid. It was by rule correct. The NFL
I don't know. I've watched the all 22 and the broadcast version a couple times on that play, and I didn't see it anywhere near.
And it might not have been on him either. It might have been on someone else, and they called it on his number.
They have done that. I've seen that happen. Numbers on players ain't even on the field.
Right there on the
It might have
bench.
been on 21, and they called it on 24. Kind of thing.
I just want to mention again to the fans out there that this is Southbound and Down on the Carolina Cat Chronicles TV network. We are. If you haven't been to our site, please come and check it out. We have totally revamped it. Scott, Greg, I don't know if you guys have been to the site recently, but it is all decked out, brand spanking new. Tony has put a lot of work into it. It looks really sharp. He's done a fantastic job. Nikki, Tony is normally the host of the show. He is at a conference this week, so he's not here. So next time you're on, he'll be joining us. But I want to move on to next week and some of next week's matchups. First, of course, we've got the Falcons and the Panthers. We'll get to that. But, Greg, we'll start with the Saints since they're still in first place. Is that right?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Who are the Saints playing and where's it at? And what are your thoughts on the game?
Cincinnati Bengals at home.
Oh, God, again?
So,
Jesus, you guys ever make a road trip? For crying out loud.
That's all we were doing early in the year was road trips.
You and the Bucks. Every week you play at home.
No, No way. We're always on the road.
We was always on the road. Now the Bucks are always at home, but we're always on the road for a while there.
And the Falcons.
Not that being at home matters for us.
But anyway, yeah, we're at home. Yeah, we got to look, and this game 2 of the 3-game homestand. And I mean, I think everybody knows Cincinnati's a talented, they're a deep team, but they're not playing very well right now. And the question is, do you see bad Andy or do you see good Andy? And hopefully we see a little bit of bad Andy in there. Probably downright horrible Andy.
That's what you want to see, yeah.
But
I'm hoping you see good Andy and good Flacco back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, that could very well happen. That could very well happen.
AJ Green is back for this one, right? He came back last week.
I think so. Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, Green's back.
Tell me
this.
Yeah, tell me this. I was going to ask you that. Tell me the status of Keenan Lewis and his knee or ankle or shin.
It was his knee. Yeah, right there. Yeah, it was his knee. I mean, it was like all puffed up and everything.
Is he out for the year? Because that looks like really serious.
Oh no, it was swollen pretty bad. It was really. I mean, I don't know if you saw that photo on Instagram that he had out.
No, I
didn't. He had a photo on
see
Instagram, and it was swollen like all around the knee. It was pretty nasty looking.
Friggin' baseball.
Yeah.
He should be out for the year. He should not look like that.
And think about it. He came back in the game and was limping around everywhere.
He played. What he did is play on third down. He come in on third down. He go cover somebody. You have to take him off the field and let somebody else play the other 2 downs. But he would just come in and be like a specialist on third down and lock down somebody. And that's what he would do.
I don't know how he's walking. How that means.
So
his statement was, if he can walk, he will play. And apparently he can walk. So apparently he's going to play. Now they may modify his role a little bit, where he may not be starting, or he might come in from play to play, to bring him in and bring him out a little bit. They may do that, or they may, I don't know, maybe they figure out a scheme or something to kind of try to not put his touch on him.
So I don't know. Are you going to end up double covering?
3 ligaments in the knee.
Green? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean. I don't know. I don't know exactly how to. I think they probably will be bracketing him a little bit, doing a little double coverage, rolling the safety over the top or something like that. To me, that would make sense to do that, so he doesn't get that big play.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Does he turn around and blitz at Dalton a lot more? Still keep it keep it and hope the cornerbacks hold and try to come after Andy Dalton. Hopefully that he'll make mistakes.
Do you know if Giovanni Bernard is back for the Bengals?
I don't know for sure. I'm still thinking Hill's going to play.
Okay. Yeah.
I keep thinking Hill's going to play from what I understand, but I haven't heard one way or another.
Right.
But that could be that little cat and mouse game too that they're playing.
Sure. But
I mean, my guess, I think Saints once again. I mean, at home, they're definitely hard to pick against at home. So I mean, definitely, I'm going New Orleans at home in this one.
You see them losing. You think it's impossible for them to lose 2 in a row at home?
I would not say it's impossible. I mean, this year right here, I mean, I think we've seen the way this whole division has looked.
Yeah,
ain't a damn thing impossible no more. Anything that was constant ain't constant no more. Anything that we can rely on,
the whole thing.
You can't rely on it anymore. You can't rely on anything. So the way I look at it is like this. I mean, it could happen because I mean, Cincinnati. Don't get me wrong. Cincinnati is definitely a good team. They're deep, and if they played to their abilities, they can whoop anybody.
Yes.
That's the truth. I don't care who the hell you are, and I don't care how good you playing. They can still beat you.
Right. They have the talent. Yeah, they have the talent. They do have the talent.
So I'm definitely not. But I'm confident in my team too. That I think my team they'll come out there and they'll play well. I mean, they know that they let one slip away against San Francisco, so they know they got to make this one up.
I think so. I think that's what it is. I think they know that they let one get away from them, and they got it right, especially at home.
Especially at home.
Make up for that. Yeah.
So, I mean, that seems a little bit more. So, I mean, I definitely think win.
Yeah, I think I think so too. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be a close game, or can be a close game. But I think the manage to pull it out. Nikki, we're going to go on to you. The Bucks are playing and where?
At Washington.
At Washington. Oh, they might get a win. That's actually.
No name.
And is RG3 coming back for this game?
I honestly don't even know. I think
he is.
They're off of a bye too, so I don't see why he wouldn't be.
Right, I think he is going to play, so that's that much more intriguing to me.
It's not really intriguing. You know, Washington is a bad football team. Atlanta is a bad football team. The Vikings are a bad football team, and we can't beat a bad we beat ourselves. We've blown 5 fourth-quarter leads this year. So until I can see, I'm sorry, I don't want to be a hater on my own team. I love my team. I'm rooting for them to win, but I don't see it happening.
No.
And actually, we have one more game at home, I believe, until we've gone a full calendar year without a win at home. So us being on the road might be a good thing.
Well, even when you are at home, there are more fans of the other team there, so it is kind of like an away game.
To be fair, a lot of people who are Atlanta fans made the trip to Tampa because the tickets were super cheap, and driving to Atlanta is like 7 hours away.
That's a hop, skip, and a jump. Yeah.
When the Saints come to town, I'm going to be at that game.
At the Bucks game?
No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Saints Bucks. I go every year. I try to go every year when
the Packers game.
Okay.
So do you?
You have to let me know. Maybe I'll see you.
Do you see RG3 going off against the Bucks defense?
I don't see why not, because we made Steven Jackson look like freaking Gio Bernard. And we get Julio Jones has had his best games against the Bucks twice.
Hold on. That's because the Bucks don't have anybody that can guard Julio.
That's my point. That's exactly my point.
Most teams don't have guys that can guard Julio.
And Julio has his best games against Tampa Bay.
Julio Jones against Deshaun Goldson has had his best 3 games of his career.
That's my point. That's exactly my point.
Sucks.
Jeez.
And Jonathan Banks can't physically match up with Julio.
And actually, Banks is probably one of the better ones that's played this year. So I'm agreeing with your point. Like, we don't have anybody. I don't see why RG3 couldn't go off on us because everybody else does.
Oh yeah.
Well, he's coming back. He hasn't played in a while. That's for sure.
We've lost two second-string quarterbacks and a third-string quarterback, so I don't think it really matters.
Let's put it this way. It wouldn't shock me if RG3 threw for 4 touchdowns and all of them were 60-plus yarders.
Yeah, we made freaking Joe Flacco look like Joe Montana, so.
So did we. So did the Panthers.
It's okay, so did we.
None of us have anything to harp on this year that's fantastic. So.
The Saints turn next, right?
Yes, I can't wait to see that game.
Let's hope not. Let's hope Flacco, turns to Bad Joe in New Orleans. I mean, I'll think about on Bourbon Street. I know,
Flacco looks like good Flacco. I think the whole division would be happy if, Atlanta represented it instead of Orleans.
Oh,
I can care less. I can care less what the hell the whole division like. New Orleans is winning this, baby. Screw the whole division.
So good.
Screw the whole division, pal. Atlanta ain't representing nothing.
So, Nikki,
I think the winner of 6 games wins this division.
The team with the best record over the next 6 games.
It'd be closer to 9 games. I got a feeling whoever wins the division is going to win 9 games.
I'll agree.
I really do. Huh?
I'll agree with that for now.
Yeah, I think 9 games.
It is. Maybe 8-8 could win the division.
Maybe.
8-8 could win the division. But I think whoever wins the division is going to be about 9-7. It's going to be 9-7. That's what I think is going to happen. Somebody's going to go. One of us is going to go on a run. I don't know who. But somebody's going to go on a run especially between the Panthers, Saints, and the Falcons. Somebody's going to get hot. It's just got to happen.
I don't think it's going to be the Panthers.
I hope it's the Falcons because I don't see any way that it's the Panthers with that garbage offensive line.
Yes. All right, so Nikki, you are pulling for the Bucks, but you think the Redskins are going to take it.
If you're asking me to be professional, I cannot pick the Buccaneers. But if you're asking me to bet with my heart, then of course.
Sure. I'm a homer too. I'm the same. I pick the Panthers every week, even though I don't think they're going to win.
I'm not a homer. I'm a realist.
I'm a homer. I won't deny it.
As a independent third party, Washington by 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
It might be like one of them.
I'm going to say as an independent third party, I'm going to go Washington by 10 points in this game. I don't think it's going to be 2 touchdowns. I think it'll be a touchdown and a field goal. Because, Washington hasn't shown me anything that they're going to blow anybody out. You know what I mean? I just don't see that.
Well, I think the crowd for sure is going to be into it. They're going to have RG3 back, so I think they're going to be really jacked and really pumped for him being back. And maybe he can feed off of that and light some things up. He can be exciting when he's healthy. When he's healthy,
yeah.
He can be an exciting player. That's for sure. So
2 games a year.
Yeah, 2 games a year exactly. This could be one of them. And last but not least, we'll move on to the Falcons-Panthers game. I want to touch on something. I'm really interested. You were talking about Julio Jones, Scott, and this year I think the lone bright spot for the Panthers on defense has been Josh Norman and his sort of coming into his own. I'm not saying he's a superstar yet, but he's really played the best of all of our cornerbacks. So I'm interested in seeing him against top-level talent as Julio Jones. I want to see how he does in coverage against Julio.
I think he's going to look very similar to Jonathan Banks.
Think.
But Jonathan Banks didn't look awful. He was in position quite a bit. It's friggin' Julio Jones.
Right.
Yeah.
He's a talent. He's a rare breed. I definitely agree with that.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying Josh Norman's a bad corner. He's better than whoever the hell they've been putting out there.
Yes.
But I think Carolina would be smarter to put Norman man-to-man against Roddy White. He'd have a better shot of neutralizing Roddy White. I think he'd have a better shot of rolling 3 guys in coverage towards Julio Jones.
I agree. Yeah, they have to double cover.
Because honestly, without Star Lotulelei, without with not a hindered or a hobbled, but Charles Johnson didn't look like he was getting a great push this past week.
No, he didn't. There were a couple of plays where he got a good push. He never got to the quarterback, but overall, yes, he didn't really have. He made no impact.
Yeah, I mean, and I could see Atlanta neutralizing them pretty easily with, Ryan Schrader and a chipping running back. And I could see, outside of him, there's Kawan Short, and that's it.
Right, and that is
Wes Horton doesn't scare me. Coney Ely doesn't scare me. None of these guys are really great at rushing the passer. If you give Matt Ryan time, he's gonna shred you.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's any top 10 quarterback. You give them time, they're gonna shred you.
Right.
Luke Kuechly looks good. Thomas Davis looks good, but
they can't cover forever.
They can't cover forever. Exactly.
Right.
And it's not like Thomas Dake's any good in coverage in the first place.
And that's what scares me when you talk about rolling somebody over the top. I'm like, oh, God, who are we going to put over the top? We're going to put old man Harper over the top? Because God knows he can't.
That could be fun. That would be fantastic.
Harper, and you got Thomas Davis going over the top with Melvin White underneath. I wouldn't trust Anton Cason on anybody.
No, and then we've been playing a lot of Colin Jones lately, and I like Colin Jones. I think he gives tremendous effort, but he's not he doesn't have a lot of physical ability. He plays mostly with just tremendous effort, and that's good. That's good for a while.
Yeah.
But eventually,
sometimes a little bit of talent. You got to need some talent.
Right, the talent gap is going to show itself.
Well, absolutely.
And that's where I'm concerned. That's where I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I think Matt Ryan, the Falcons have been playing better. They've looked better over the last couple of weeks, where the Panthers have continued to regress and look worse over the last couple of weeks. So I'm concerned. I am concerned. Even though this game is in Carolina, I'm worried that we're two teams headed in two different directions, and that has me worried. I'm wonder on the flipping sides of the ball. What do you think about the Falcons' defense going up against the Panthers' offense?
I think this might be the Falcons' record game this year for sacks, because the defensive tackles are finally getting it together, because they're finally playing Jonathan Babineau as a 3-tech again. They're finally playing Corey Peters as a 1-tech again, and they're actually getting good pass rush. And Hageman's looking solid. Hageman's improving every single game. Love seeing him play right now. He's only getting better. I can't wait to see him go up against Ryan Khalil and Amini Latolu and, whoever else, the Andrew Norwell guy that was all right. I could see
okay. Yeah, okay.
And then Paul Soliai even looked good as a pass rusher, just eating double teams. Add in OC and Croy coming off a good game against a pair of bad offensive tackles. They're going against a pair of worse offensive tackles now in Nate Chandler and Byron Bell, who have no business playing left tackle and right tackle in the NFL.
Right, I agree.
No business.
No.
Whatsoever. So, honestly, I could see, and if Jonathan Masqua's healthy, I could see this being a 6-7 sack game for Atlanta easily. And if Atlanta's got a pass rush, that defense looks great. You're going to get turnovers. You're going to get Lowry or Sauer, or one of these guys just getting a pick somewhere.
Yeah, your secondary's in pretty good shape. It's just been the front seven where the questions have loomed. But like you're saying, they've been coming together over the last games.
You're not going to see Desmond Trufant intercept the ball because he can't catch, but you might see Robert Alford get an interception.
Do you know what I mean, though?
Okay. So your thoughts on the game as far as the outcome?
I think Atlanta wins. I think it's a little closer than I'm making it sound. I think it's going to be a 7-point victory, probably 31-24.
Okay, so you see some points going up. You see them putting.
Because Atlanta's defense isn't going to hold up all day. I don't see it. They're going to allow touchdowns. They allowed the Bucs to score 17, and you've got a slightly better running game than the Bucs have.
Okay, I'm seeing this. I've already stated I'm a homer, and I always pick the Panthers to win, no matter who they're playing. But I'm calling this a defensive battle. That the defenses show up and they play tough, and it's a 10-9 game. Carolina wins and a field goal at the end.
Wow.
I'm not seeing how Carolina really stops Atlanta without a pass rush.
Joe is going 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Exactly.
And they're just saying, you know what, we're going to run 6 offensive linemen all day.
Right, and we're going to
I could see them using the same strategy against the Panthers. Hey, let's just throw 6 offensive linemen out there all day.
And just run. And run. That's right. Don't even drop Cam back, just run.
And then play action deep to Julio Jones, because you know what? They can't stop that because they got Thomas Deku at free safety.
Right, and you know what he plays like.
Oh, I'm allowed to rip Thomas Deku. I had to deal with 5 years
You are
of his...
totally. I agree. You are allowed to rip him. I think this is a big week in the division as far as placing, where the teams are going to fall out because of this matchup here, and the Saints having a big game. So things are going to shake out a little further. By no means is anything finalized, but they'll shake out a little bit more. And I'm really interested in seeing where we are come Monday. There should be some good football, and we'll have a little bit clearer picture, hopefully, come Monday of who wins the NFC South. Maybe not though. It could just be muddled up even more.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that Atlanta Carolina game, I see some closer to that 21-17 type score myself. I think that Atlanta winning the game. I'm just not seeing enough out of Carolina right now that tells me that they can win this game. Unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, you know, like I said, I'm a homer, but the realist, it doesn't look pretty for Carolina. We haven't looked good in the last 5 weeks. So, Nikki, what about you? What do you think of the Carolina Falcons game?
I don't think Carolina has a good defense like they did last year to save them. And your offensive line, like I said, looks probably worse than the Buccaneers right now. So if the Falcons can get a pass rush on you, and they got 4 sacks against ours, I think Carolina might be in trouble. Where's the game at? Remind me.
It's in Carolina.
In Carolina. Yeah. I just don't. I don't think Cam Newton has enough weapons, and his offensive line can't protect him. The defense just is flat. I'm gonna have to go with the Falcons on this as well.
That's fair. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything. I wouldn't expect anything out of that.
The thing about it is that between all 4 teams, the Saints are probably the most balanced team, and even they look not so good this year. So, like I said, it was 2 bad football teams against the Falcons and the Bucs, and it's 2 bad football teams, Carolina and the Falcons. So it's the lesser of 2 evils, and I'm going to have to take the Falcons on it.
Sure. Especially the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks. I understand that totally.
I think we should forfeit the NFC South playoff spot and give it to somebody who deserves
right, I
it.
agree.
I'm not giving that spot to anybody. We win that division, we win.
Atlanta's not going up, so I mean,
I am not going with that vote.
Hey man,
I'm not going with that vote. Whoever wins this thing goes in and go make the playoffs. Whether it's us, whether it's the Falcons or whoever, you go in and you get it. Those are the rules.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Right.
According to Lovie Smith, the real football doesn't start till November.
I mean, no, because I had to torch ESPN on that crap today. Because I went and I made a statement to them today because they sit there and was posing because New Orleans was 4-5, saying if the playoffs ended today, then New Orleans will be hosting a playoff game, and should a sub 500 team get in? I said, for one thing, the season is not done. Well, for all you know, the Saints could win the next 7 games and go 11-5. What do you got to say then? You know what I'm saying?
It's Homer, Greg.
It's too early to say that.
It's a stupid thing to say anyway. It's a stupid thing to say. If the season ended today.
I mean, and I also said, what did you say when Seattle did the same thing back in 2010? I ain't hear anybody say anything then.
I mean, realistically go.
They were 7-9. Yes.
Yeah, I was pissed off because the Buccaneers were 10-6 that year, and Seattle got it, but it was annoying.
Right. But I didn't hear anybody say anything then, so now all of a sudden
I was saying something. Trust me.
You got something to say.
When Atlanta had to play away games at both the New York Giants and the Arizona Cardinals, 2008 and 2011, because they were the NFC South number 2 with 11-5 or 10-6 records, and the teams they went to were either 8-8 or 9-7. Yeah, I wasn't really happy about that either.
No.
Atlanta should have had home games in those situations. But then one of these teams is going to benefit from a crappy NFC South and have a home game and probably a playoff win because of it.
Probably.
Yeah, the likelihood. Yeah, and it's very. But you know, but I'm saying those are the rules. That's it. And it
works. It works for the most part.
You take it. Yeah, you take it. Until they change the rules, I ain't got nothing to say.
Well, like I said, the system works. This isn't something that needs to be changed. It's just there's those instances every so often, like 2010 with Seattle getting in at 7-9, the Bucs being 10-6.
Yep.
You were saying with the Falcons with the better record, and they're the visiting team. But overall, the system works, and you just don't need to fix what's not broken.
There are going to be those rare times that it doesn't work, but you play it, and it just works out the way it works out. These are the rules.
But see, the short-sightedness of it that people are not looking at, and ESPN is not looking at. When you're in these battles, you're not trying to be the best of 16 teams in that conference. You're trying to be the best of 4
in your division.
You win that division, you at least get a home game. That's it. So I mean, that's the rule. You be the best of 4. That's what you need to look at. You don't care less what the other 12 teams do. That that shakes out when it shakes out. And that's how I'm looking at it at this point. All I care about is what you guys do and what we do against you guys. After that, I'm not worried about anybody else and how it lands. Because I know that one team coming out of this division, and that's gonna be the division winner. That's it.
No, yeah, that's it. No wild card.
Yeah, he's all happy because his team's sitting pretty at the top right now.
Real quick, I want to run through the games and get everybody's predictions. I know we'll start with Greg. He thinks the Saints are going to win a close one in New Orleans against the
Bengals.
Bengals, that's right. Nikki, what are your thoughts? Who do you pick in that game?
I think the Bengals are a better balanced team, but Drew Brees and the Saints at home are just a different animal than they are on the road. And I don't think, as good as Cincinnati is, they're not going to win a Super Bowl with Andy Dalton. So I'm going to have to go with the Saints.
Okay, Scott?
I've got the same opinion. I'm not a huge fan of the Saints, as you can very damn well tell. But
I pray for you, buddy.
As an objective observer,
pray for you, you know it.
as an objective observer, the Saints at home are a tough team to beat.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
They're what, 3-1 at home, and then they're 1-3 1-4 on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time saying that the Saints are going to be destroyed by Cincinnati. Do I think if good Andy Dalton shows up, it's a close game?
Mm-hmm.
Without a doubt.
Dalton shows up, New Orleans blows them out. Either way, I think New Orleans by anywhere from 3 to 33. And I'm going to pick New Orleans by 3, 24-21.
Wow. That's a ball game right there.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fun to watch, just like last week.
I'm not the biggest Andy Dalton fan myself, and I was really shocked at the money that he got for what he's accomplished so far. Yes, he's had some, he's won some games, but he's also had a great defense there, and he's had some super weapons. He's had some real talent around him. So anyway, I can't see the Saints losing 2 in a row at home, not with the talent that they have, and I think that the Saints win, and it's a close game. Maybe they win by 7, 10 points, but I definitely see them winning. Now we'll go to the Tampa game, and they're playing
Washington
in D.C. What are your thoughts, Greg?
I think Washington wins the game. Like I said, I at the most 10 points at the most.
Okay.
I think Tampa gives them kind of a game. I mean, Washington. I don't see Washington blowing them out. And I got a feeling even with RG3 coming back, you're gonna see a little rust there. I still think it's gonna be a little bit of rust and some timing and things like that. Now, maybe they make a few mistakes and the Bucs can take advantage of them.
Maybe.
But we'll see.
And Nikki, I know your thoughts. Your heart's with the Bucs.
We'll have a fourth quarter lead and we'll blow it.
So you'll win all the way up to the last 15 minutes, and then
all right, of course. Last 7 minutes.
Scott, what do you think? Think the Redskins RG3 take it?
I think Washington by 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
Tampa Bay's just a bad football team.
Right.
And I think Washington's just a slightly better football team than they're given credit for, because a lot of their losses they're a little bit closer outside of that New York loss. Everything was within a score, maybe 10 points.
Yeah.
They're a better team than they're really given credit for, and I think they could have a big win against Tampa Bay the same way they destroyed the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because I think Tampa Bay and Jacksonville are about the same caliber team right now.
Okay.
Yeah. The players are there in Washington. Don't get me wrong; they got talent there. It's just not playing very well, as well as it could be. Is what I'm thinking.
Right.
I'm saying they look like a Mike Smith coach team.
That's funny to hear you say that, Scott. Because as bad as you want him out of there. Yeah, I think the Redskins do. I think the Redskins win. 7-point game. RG3 comes back, and like I said, I think he'll play well in front of the crowd. And me and Scott have already voiced our opinions on the Panthers Falcons. Nikki, you think Falcons, and Greg, you think Falcons too? Is that right?
I do at this point. I just don't see enough out of the Panthers right now to warrant that they could win this game right now.
Okay.
That's
fair. That's fair. I just wanted to just to make sure on those on getting those picks squared away. As we've got a running tabulation, Nikki, of who's picking what, and we're going to look at the end of the year and see who the best prognosticator amongst us has been.
Well, right now we all got losing records, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
The game this year kind of reminds me of the 2010 game where Atlanta went into Carolina.
Oh yeah, is that when they came in and housed the Panthers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that game. That was
not. He's got that feeling going in, and it was mainly Michael Turner just running up and 4 yards of carry all day long.
Well, I hope that feeling is indigestion. It's not what happened to me.
I don't know, man. It was Harry Douglas with a 46-yarder and Roddy White with 18-yard chunks all day.
I don't see Roddy White getting 18-yard chunks anymore.
Julio Jones with 18-yard chunks.
Yeah, more like 28-yard chunks.
Roddy White's going to get the Tony Gonzalez like 7 yards at a time.
Right. All right. Anybody have anything else they want to add? Any thoughts, comments? Any other game they want to mention?
Not really. I mean.
All right. Well, I want to thank Nikki for coming on. I'm really impressed with your football acumen, specifically your Tampa acumen. You really know the team very well, and you put forward some really enlightening and insightful comments. And I look forward to the next time we have you on the show.
Thank you for having me on, and thank you for the compliments. I really appreciate that.
You were great. Glad to have you.
Let me tell you, Nikki, I got a lot of tweets that said, bring this girl back, that she knows her stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got a lot of tweets. And when I say a lot, I'm talking like, 10, 15 tweets from people saying, this girl is sharp.
Awesome. Well, you can catch me from time to time on the Bucks Brief podcast as well. I actually I do a local show out of Albuquerque. It's called ABQ Sports Crew. It's on Blog Talk Radio, and I tweet the link out every so often. The thing about that podcast, and I'm just being honest, is it's kind of hard to listen to because the guys that I work with are not very, they tend to talk over each other a lot, so it's kind of hard to listen to, but I do help them out. I am the only female on that podcast. So if you follow me, you can follow ABQ Sports Crew and check me out whenever you want. I'm on Twitter at Bucks_Princess.
All right. I want to thank you guys for coming on. As per usual, you did a great job. Look forward to talking with you next Wednesday and seeing what we said, whether or not we were right. And we will know a lot more about the NFC South come next Wednesday.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, you guys have a great rest of the week, and I'll talk to you then.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.